I really do want to upload these on YouTube, but like, I don't know why the halfway through this first case has been such a butt to actually edit.
Glancing over my records of the late last century, I am faced by the events of a certain bitter winter. A murder in a carriage as it sped through dense London fog in the dead of night. Though the victim and the perpetrator were the only ones inside, there were multiple witnesses to the crime itself. However, none could have imagined at the time that such a seemingly obvious case as this would end in such a horrendous manner. My friend, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, once said of the incident, "I believe that perhaps that case was indeed the prelude. The beginning of a long concerto that impressive Japanese student and I were to play together."
He thinks I'm impressive. Ooh, more anime.
Amazing. Is this really just a railway station?
Railway station or not, I've never seen such an enormous building before.
And look at all the steam locomotives. This country is incredible.
Brian's Cocoa. In the Phoenix Wright world, Brian makes cocoa.
I feel like I'm dreaming.
So this is the capital of Great Britain.
So, where to?
Oh, hello.
Climb aboard. I'll take you wherever you want to go.
In that case, the Supreme Court in Whitehall, if you wouldn't mind.
My pleasure. I suppose you're visiting students from abroad, eh?
Yes.
Thought so. Well then, I hope you enjoy your stay. And welcome to the centre of the world, Great Britain's mighty capital, London.
The best in London. Top cocoa. The Lord Chief Justice's office. What an incredible place. It's so imposing. It's almost suffocating. This place is breathtaking. It looks like a fortress. There are some stone buildings like this in Japan now, of course. But they've only been built in the few short decades since we opened our borders to the outside. An authentic example like this is quite a different impact, wouldn't you agree? A far cry from the wood and paper most of our buildings are constructed from. It's certainly unfamiliar. But I think there's more to the differences than just construction material. What is this place again? This is the Lord Chief Justice's office, Naruhodo-san, in the Supreme Court of Great Britain. Don't you know, in giant clock towers, that's where we put the head offices. The Lord Chief Justice. We had instructions to report here at this time, if circumstances were different. We were supposed to let the Lord Chief Justice know that we had arrived from Japan. But Kazuma can't. No. So instead, we are here in a different capacity, as envoys, to report the news of Kazuma-sama's death. Yeah. And having delivered his or her message, an envoy's duty is done. So, we'd have to return to Japan. If we want to remain here in Great Britain, I have to take Kazuma's place as the law student selected for the study tour. Yes, which means you need the requisite qualifications as a lawyer. Which is what I've been studying for. Here in Great Britain, it is the Lord Chief Justice who appoints lawyers. So that's the second reason why we're here, to have you officially recognized as a lawyer. It's the only way we'll be able to remain here in London. I hope I'm up to scratch. Good morning. Sorry for keeping you. Fucking Dracula over here. I really don't know what kind of character this guy is. I'm going through any sort of voices I can do in my head, and none of them are coming out correctly. I trust you aren't too exhausted after your long voyage from Japan. Yeah, we're gonna give him the shittiest voice I can do. It seems I'm 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 47 seconds late. My apologies. Oh, no, don't mention it. We're never happier than when we're standing around with nothing much to do. How fortunate. Strongheart, right? So, introductions. I am Miles Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of the British Empire. Ugh. And I feel like a little mouse under an elephant's foot. Come on, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't be a mouse. Oh, it's an honor to meet you, Lord Chief Justice Strongheart. I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Well, Mr. Naruhodo. Welcome to London, the capital of our glorious British Empire. I summon birds. Yes, thank you. Converse. London. So, what are your impressions of our capital so far? How do you like London? Oh, help! I've been so nervous ever since I got here, I can't remember a single thing about the city. It's simply splendid, isn't it, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh? We had a wonderful view of some of London's streets from the carriage on the way here from the station. Everything is so impressive and grand. I must say I'm almost lost for words. I'm glad to hear you like it. The city boasts tramways, piped water and gas, even cables supplying electricity. We spearhead every revolutionary new technology in the world. Every visitor in London is astounded. One day maybe we'll even have satellite TV. That is the future. Oh yes, astounded is the word. Thanks for saving me there, Susato-san. And everyone seems so jolly and full of vigor. Yes. There's much excitement about the upcoming great exhibition we will be hosting here in London. Great exhibition? I'ma whip your ass! Cultural and technological achievements from around the globe are to be exhibited here in our grand city. It will be the greatest spectacle of its kind in history, and it will make Paris's World Fair look like a toy shop. Gosh, I can hardly imagine how magnificent it's going to be. Great Britain's capital city is nothing but magnificent. London's the center of the modern world. Even if you do say so yourself. The sun will never set on our great empire. Perhaps it is fate that in these progressive times we welcome visitors from the land of the rising sun. Lord Chief Justice, I think you were expecting a student of law for this study tour, weren't you?
Absolutely. A Mr. Kazuma Asorgi, if my memory serves.
That's right.
The British government has already been telegraphed a full report on the situation. I understand the young man lost his life aboard the steamship bound for All Shoals.
That's amazing. The news reached him before we even arrived.
Head shake. My country naturally extends its deepest condolences to yours.
Oh, thank you.
And you honored this appointment specifically to inform me of the news?
Yes. We are here in the capacity of envoys from Japan to report the sad news in person.
They tell me you Japanese are people of protocol and courtesy, and I see that it's true. And it is with some regret that I must inform you that the death of the young lawyer means the study tour arrangement can no longer proceed.
If you would just hear us out, Lord Strongheart.
What do you have to say, madame?
It's about the study tour. Mr. Naruhodo here would like to make a proposal.
Would he now? Well, Mr. Naruhodo?
This is it then, the moment of truth. The thing is, Lord Justice, Lord Strongheart, I was wondering if perhaps you would consider allowing the study tour to go ahead?
Don't misunderstand me. The Britain would ideally like to see the tour go ahead, but without a lawyer from your country, there's nothing to be done.
Well, in that case, what if there was someone else? Another lawyer from Japan, I mean.
Is there something I don't know? Only a single lawyer was invited to Great Britain from your country. And that was Mr. Asorgi. At least, that is what I've been led to understand.
Well, the thing is, this really isn't going well at all. I just can't seem to find the right words to say to this man. Mr. Naruhodo? I could ruin things here if I'm not careful. What am I going to say? If there's someone else here from Japan who could be described as a lawyer, it's me! It's me. I can do it.
Is that so?
I mean, I don't actually have any qualifications as such, but...
No qualifications, you say? And yet you claim to be a lawyer?
I've acted as a lawyer in court before. Only once, as it happens. And I had Cosmo to help me, and I was the accused. But glossing over the details. I've been spending every spare moment on the journey here to Great Britain studying. I've learned all about British law and court proceedings while I was on board the SS Burya.
The voyage from Japan is some 50 days, I believe. Not what you might call a full education. To become a qualified lawyer here in Britain, not only do you need a university degree in law, you must also complete several years of training.
I realize it's far too short a period of time, but I can't just go back to Japan. Kazuma, Mr. Asogi's journey had only just begun. Coming here on this study tour was all he thought about. I have to carry on and do something he planned to do. Hi, NF! I know it must sound like I have an overly inflated opinion of myself, but I would do anything to prove that I have what it takes. Any test you care to set me? Just one chance, that's all I'm asking for. Please?
31 seconds.
Sorry?
Your opening statement there, Mr. Naruhodo. It was 31 seconds long. Not too brief, not too protracted. A perfectly judged appeal, I would say. Which is a skill that would stand you in good stead as a lawyer.
Oh, thanks.
So, you're willing to put these words to trial, are you? Well, I'm all for entertainment.
Uh-huh.
But let me ask you one thing first, sir. Yeah? You say you intend to do everything Mr. Soki planned to do. Are you firmly set on that plan?
Well, yes, that's my intention.
I see.
Am I imagining things, or does his expression just alter a fraction there all of a sudden?
Very well. You have your wish. I'll give you a chance. A test to become a specially certified lawyer. Whether you pass or fail is entirely down to you.
Really? So, what form will the test take exactly?
Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, what do you consider the role of a lawyer to be?
Well, defending people, of course.
Well said. So, let's have you defend someone.
Huh?
Your timing is perfect, in fact. There's an apt trial about to begin later today. No advocate has been appointed for the defense as yet, so this will be a welcome news.
Today? Straight away?
If you manage to secure a verdict not guilty, you'll have passed my test. What could be simpler?
How do I get myself into these situations? Well, could I ask, what sort of trial is it, Mr. Strongheart, Lord Strongheart?
That's a good question. I remember. It's a murder trial, because this is Phoenix fucking Wright.
A murder?
An extremely simple case, I understand. You really can't lose.
That's easy to say.
But I should mention, just in case, if the defendant is found guilty, he will of course be sentenced to capital punishment.
Capital punishment? He'll be put to death?
Here in Great Britain, murderers are sent to the gallows without exception. Presumably, you read that much in your short C-based introduction to British law.
We can't possibly agree to such a test. We would be toying with a man's life. Oh, that's what you always do as the defendant.
I am the Lord Chief Justice, and I've decided it's acceptable.
But you can't do that, can you?
There's no need to overcomplicate things. All you have to do is ensure that you don't lose.
So the defendant may live or die depending on how well I perform in court. If I lose, he'll be hanged.
Mr. Naruhodo, you've come to me claiming to be a lawyer. If you want me to take you seriously, you need to prove you're willing to do a lawyer's job. And you say you intend to see through the will of your compatriot, Mr. Soge. I would like to understand just how far you're willing to go in order to make that happen.
He's testing my resolve.
What's the matter? You've fallen silent. I'm sorry, but time is pressing. The trial will begin shortly. I need an answer from you now. What's it to be?
What do I say? Do I agree to this absurd test? Fuck yeah, I do. Alright then, if I have to give you a decision now, my answer is... I can't do it. I can't get the words out.
15 seconds. Your decision-making needs work if you want to be a lawyer. That was too slow. So, it's as I suspected, is it?
Sorry?
You have noble intentions, but lack the resolve to see them through. The test is cancelled. Thank you for stopping by. Go and acquire your ticket for passage back to East tomorrow. This conversation is over.
Yes, Lord Strongheart. Thank you for offering me a chance. Mr. Naruhodo? I'm sorry, Mr. Sato, but what could I do? It's alright, I understand. You do? It's not an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances. But resolve has absolutely nothing to do with it.
What are you trying to say, madame?
I think what Mr. Sato means is that no matter how badly I'd like to be recognized as a lawyer and stay here in Great Britain, to risk another man's life by treating his one and only chance in a trial so trivially would be utterly unforgivable, and I feel exactly the same. I'm sure the defendant won't see this trial as a test, as some kind of experiment. Ooh, water. Thank you. A lawyer may fight for his clients in court day after day, but for each one of those clients, the particular day they stand in the dock may be the only chance they have to fight to prove their innocence. No, I was wrong. I'm not qualified to do that job yet. I'm sorry for wasting your precious time, Lord Chief Justice.
Wait, Mr. Naruto!
Oh, was there something else?
It's approximately 20 minutes by carriage to the Old Bailey from here. If you leave immediately, you should still be there in time.
But I just said that.
I was quite serious in what I told you. The defendant in this case has literally no one to advocate for him.
What?
At this point, he can't hope to find someone to represent him. The trial will begin without a defense. And if that happens, there's only one possible outcome. He will receive the most severe sentence the judge can pass down.
But that's awful.
But that's the truth.
Why does it have to be like this?
Please don't expect an answer to every question. The cold hard truth of the matter is that there is only one person now with a chance to save this man from a very miserable end. And that is you.
I'm really his only hope.
So, what do you say now, madame?
Me? What do you mean, Mr. Strongheart?
You say it wasn't an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances. And I agree. But in my estimation, it is purely and simple a matter of resolve. All time is up here. I have a meeting to attend. I must leave in 2 minutes and 60 seconds. So, venture into our great city and enjoy yourselves.
He's gone. He grew wings and flew away with the birds. The Old Bailey. If we're going to do this, Mr. Naruto, we must leave at once.
The Old Bailey.
Oh, thank goodness, we're in time. There's still 15 minutes until the trial begins. I never knew a horse-drawn carriage could go so fast. I thought my teeth were going to rattle loose. Did you hear what I said to the driver when we climbed aboard? Get us to our destination in 5 minutes, driver. And there's a Gina in it for you? Gina. Guina. Guinness. There's a Guinness. It's one of my favorite lines from the Sherlock Holmes stories, and it worked quite perfectly. I'm not sure why you're so pleased. I thought we were going to die, and we had to pay gold for the privilege. Well, at least we arrived here before the trial started. Yes, I suppose there's that. Anyway, I don't understand it. The court clerk said the defendant should be here, but there's no sign of him at all. So this is the Old Bailey. Even this room for defendants to wait in is grand. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm feeling tense, that's all. This place gives me the same sense of foreboding that I remember from the Supreme Court in Japan. An oppressive air, almost as if the building itself is going to crush whoever is about to be sentenced. It feels like only yesterday that I was the one about to be crushed. Yes, whoever the man Whoever the man you're to defend is, I imagine he's very lonely at this moment. Top of the morning to you, madame, sir. Whoa! Oh! Oof. There's so much in that suit, and I love it. What a gremlin. What are yous doing following me here? Things are fair desperate, are they? Sorry? What do you look at these expressionless faces? From the east, are yous? We're from Japan, yes. Ah, Japan, is it? Right, say no more. So, how much do yous need? No, we're just here because... No need to explain, fella. I've been here myself, so I have. No place to go, nothing to eat, barely a penny to your name. And all while in a strange, faraway land. Well, actually, we haven't found a place to stay yet, no. 'Tis grand, 'tis grand. Let me start by giving yous 1,000 guineas. Say nothing now. Ha, 1,000 guineas? Please, Miss Osato, you don't have to shout. But 1,000 guineas is enough to build an entire mansion in the most prestigious area of Tokyo. What? 'Tis nothing to me at all. I like to ensure I have sufficient funds to weather a rainy day, you see. I have enough wealth to buy the city of London 2 or 3 times over. Could that much rain even fall in a day? Well, even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a large sum of money. Ah! That just hit me in the eye. Don't get me wrong, fella. I'm not giving it to you, no strings attached. I'll be waiting to see... I'll be wanting you to do something for me. Oh? To be honest, 'tis a little embarrassing. The trial that's about to begin, you see, is for me good self here. I'll be in the dock. So now, what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Officially, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now. Oh, well, the thing is, don't worry about a thing. All you have to do, stand up there next to me, nothing more. Otherwise, you see, the trial's gonna start without me having any kind of representation at all. So it was true. The Lord Chief Justice wasn't just making it all up. I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but does that mean you're the defendant in this trial? Bluster and blazes, do yous not know who I am? Me, one of London's biggest names? No, sorry, we just arrived in the city, you see. I see. I suppose it isn't altogether impossible. Well, just next to Hyde Park there in the center of London is another beautiful park. Sorry, a park? What? Just called McGilded Park. Full of blossoming flowers in the spring and singing birds and whatnot. I donated it to the city, so I did. An entire park in central London. A city of smiles, that's my vision for London. There's nothing Magnus McGilded, oh my word. Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for the city and its square old people. That's amazing. I mean, really extraordinary. But That ain't the gall to say I'm a good-for-nothing criminal. Me, Magnus McGilden. What's the matter with the London police, I ask you? Ha ha ha. Alright, don't pass out. I feel like every Ace Attorney, like, lawyer, at some point has to make friends with, like, the mob. Like, Phoenix has made friends with the mob twice. Apollo has made friends with the mob. Like, everyone, apparently, in Ace Attorney, at some point, needs to befriend and make friends with the mob. Mr. Naruhodo, perhaps now would be a good time to introduce ourselves, while the gentleman catches his breath. Good idea. Heh, heh, heh. Mr. McGilded? The thing is, we're actually here in London to study British law. We're law students. On a study tour from Japan, you see. Heh, heh, heh. So, if you don't have a lawyer for the trial yet, and you'd be happy to put yourself in our hands, we do our... What was I after saying, you daft idiot? I've given you 1,000 guineas to stand up there next to me, haven't I? Well, yes, but I wasn't really offering to just stand up there next to you. Oh, I think I see what's going on here. Sorry? I know what you're thinking. This Chancellor of a fella claims to be more money than the Queen. But if that's true, why the blazes can't he hire the finest lawyer in all of England? Guinness? Okay. Or is it, wait, is it Guinness or Guinness or Gines? Because he did it. That's the only explanation. Well, well... Not at all, although it is a little strange, to be honest. Why you don't have a lawyer, I mean. English was a mistake. That would be the fault of the Reaper. Die, die, die. Okay. Sorry? Did you just say Reaper? Aye. The Grim Reaper of the Bailey, Lord Beric von Zeeks. He's the prosecutor. The prosecutor is Edgeworth, the Grim Reaper? When Van Zeek stands for the prosecution, they call the accusers sacrificial lambs. And to this day, in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. What? So it's reached a desperate situation, where there's no one willing to stand in defense against a fella at all. You could say he's a living legend of the Old Bailey. Goodness. Lord Beric von Zeeks. He must have an exceptionally talented prosecutor then. Talented isn't the word you're looking for, madame. It's cursed. Cursed? What on earth? The defendant is summoned, and his counsel. Please make your way into the courtroom. The trial's about to begin. His counsel? That would be me. Oh, 'tis time. Well then, fella, don't let me down. But I don't know anything about the case. You haven't told me what happened. Until you showed your face here, I'd made up my mind, so I had. Sorry? I decided I'd have to defend myself in there. How would that have worked? But then you made an appearance. A student of law, wouldn't you know? 'Tis no accident, I can assure you of that. 'Tis fate. So don't get cold feet now, please. I literally know nothing about the case, or about this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I can do now, I do know, is that I can't just turn my back on him. Mr. Naruhodo. The man has no one. He'll have to stand alone in that courtroom, armed with nothing to defend himself. Yes, something that Cosmo would never have allowed to happen.
Counsel for the defense, what are you doing? If you're late for the start of the trial, you will lose your right to stand.
Guineas. Okay. I'll be right there. It's happening then. My first trial in a British court. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because I have no idea how I'm going to manage this. Rabble, 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 rabble. Oh, this is giving me Ace Attorney Layton vibes. And all I can do is hope that it's so much better than Layton Wright. That was not a good game. Oh, but we'd have the multiple witnesses. Okay. That I do recall. So this is the highest court in Great Britain, the Old Bailey. The centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different from the Supreme Court in Japan. It feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Imagine the country determining person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. Whatever the country. Wow. Reading was a mistake. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, what? Oh, he's got that look on his face. Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I just can't help it. Fucking what? Yo, okay. Judgy.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilden. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh. I'm going through like my brain, and it's failing me right now. You know, I'm gonna make Von Seeks my break from the voice acting. Hold on. Let me move my mic a bit. All right, let me do this. The prosecution is fully prepared. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld.
Counsel for the defense, you appear to be Eastern? Do you speak English?
Huh? Oh, yes, of course, sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready. And I couldn't be further from ready if I tried. Those eyes please me, Nippon-ness. They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation. Oh no, he's hot! They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. A cold shiver just ran down my spine all the way to the tips of my toes.
Now, Mr. McGilden.
Yeah, my lord.
You stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner?
As I've always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even if the fella's a student from a little island off in the far east.
Oh my god, the voice I picked for him hurts so bad. I'm gonna need so much goddamn water if he keeps that up. Ugh.
Is it not the British way to ignore the dangers to yourself and give less fortune a fair chance? I like to think that acts of chivalry do give Great British Empire proud.
I might have to take a slight break from how hard I was going with his voice. Like, legit, it's hurting somewhere in the back. That's definitely welcome news. He certainly has a way with words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him. Eloquently put, Mr. McGilded. And most laudable sentiments. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed? I am not giving every single one of these a voice. I'm sorry, not happening. Yes, my lord, if the task to send rotters to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready. At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Ha! Any criminals here will soon be wishing they never set eyes on me. Fucking... I am so drunk. I feel a chill. Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, those people are... The jury, yes. That's something we don't have in Japan yet. That's right. I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinions of these 6 jurors. The judge passed the sentence according to the law, but the jurors determined the guilt based on common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. But how exactly do the jurors give their verdict? That I don't know, but I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses. Prosecutor von Zeeks. My lord. It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounced your fame. I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. Infamy rather than fame, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity. So, what brings you back? Is there some change of circumstance in which the court should be aware? I leave that to your imagination, my lord. So the Reaper's been out of action for 5 years. Why did he choose today, of all days, to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo. As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. The summary of the case, if you please. Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity. You must be the only ones in here who aren't aware. The incident took place in the late evening, 3 days past. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks, known in the community as Thrice-Fired Mason. Sorry? Thrice? He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible.
The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service on the streets of London at the time. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here's the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard.
Thank you, Counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence. Autopsy report entered. Photograph entered.
And one further item of evidence. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well.
And these are... Good Lord! Is that blood, Counsel?
Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gall-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested.
What? Mr. McGilded's gloves had blood on them? Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well. Defendant's leather gloves. How did I get into this? I'm backed into a corner before I even started.
Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time.
Only 2?
Obviously, one of those passengers was deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other... Look at how hotly I point. Look at this hot pointing. Look, do you see my muscles while I point? Do you see my abs? I am sexy as fuck right now. This is why I came back after 5 years. Was the accused, Magnus McGilded.
Well, rather damning circumstances to say the least. Defendant, what say you? Well, of course, I have no recollection of such a thing. Mr. McGilded, to be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening, but whenever I was in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness, and I always succumb to it. Are you claiming to have been asleep? 'Tis the motion of the carriage, my lord. Listen, so it is. And when I opened my eyes again, 'twas a desperate sight before me, the body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in my life. Now I ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fellow bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about my gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. So the blood got onto the gloves then, after a man had been killed.
Unfortunately, that statement of the driver's is only the beginning.
What? That's not all of it?
There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed.
Order, order, order! Order, 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 order.
When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage, and there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused.
Thank you, counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear the testimony from these witnesses first of all.
Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once. This is why you need a team when you play Phoenix Wright games, because I can't do so many fucking voices. My name is, well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End. Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city. My name's First. Lady First. Fuck. I, make hats for gents. Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, at a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witness to the aforementioned incident. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Quite right.
Yes, sir, that's right, sir.
Very well, then. Let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw.
What the witnesses saw. Okay, I haven't actually looked at the court record, so let's do that now. An armband I inherited from Cosmo identifies the wearer as the defense lawyer throughout the Empire of Japan. Report period. Okay. Thrice fired Mason, 54, brickmaker. Time, cause of death. Between 10 to 11 p.m., stabbed once in the abdomen with a knife whilst journeying in an omnibus. Died due to internal hemorrhaging resulting from the trauma. Okay. It's one big stab. You can see his reflection slightly in the window. He's missing a button. I don't know if that'll come into play, but it tends to. Leather gloves. This is definitely blood, isn't it? Not the most pleasant sight to be confronted with on our first day in London. Well, nothing will come of grumbling now. No. By the way, is Mr. McGilded right-handed? Yes, I believe so. He was toying with a coin in his right hand a little earlier. Ah, pity. If only he'd been left-handed. I think blood on either glove would be fairly incriminating, really. There's nothing else of note on the gloves? No, nothing else of note.
It was the last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers. I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts.
That's right. He stabbed him. I screamed, I did. Couldn't help it.
As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it too.
But no, you could. Well, need to push these guys. Thank you. I feel like if I keep continuing this, I'm gonna need to actually buy cough drops because it wrecks my voice pretty quickly, depending on the voice.
Unambiguous testimony, I must say.
Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes.
I'd like to ask some questions, if I may. Yes, counsel?
Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Why not? Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it? It has been clearly stated from the outset, yes. Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly see what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of a moving carriage. How quaint. I'd read that civilization in the Eastern Island nations was a good century behind our own. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses? Huh? Tell me, my Nipponese friend, have you ever even traveled in an omnibus?
Well, no. We arrived in London this morning.
No matter. I've arranged for us to see for ourselves. The actual scene of the crime, that is.
What do you mean? The actual scene? How?
A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably you understand that much.
Yeah.
The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today, in this very building.
Here? What? The entire carriage?
Bailiff, bring forth the stricken omnibus.
So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. I can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. Yes, the omnibus is going to testify.
As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. Although if you're going to a convention, that's about 8 cosplayers or 14 normal convention goers not in cosplay. It's dependent on the cosplay. If it's a League of Legends one, we can only fit 3 people. 4 passengers seated inside in the enclosed cabin, and another 4 on the rooftop deck above. Every Londoner knows that the best views of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from the top of an omnibus.
Yeah.
And I should point out to our foreign guests that there's a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above.
Ah, skylight. Oh.
The penny drops at last, I see. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the roof seats on this omnibus when the murder took place. That is how they came to witness the grim incident. Through the skylight.
Ah, that makes perfect sense. Well, counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom.
There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish.
Very well, I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. Omnibus is in the carriage is back on the roof deck that night.
I can't believe it. The entire crime scene entered evidence.
Okay, let's take a look at this thing. Because I already have an idea what the hell the issue is. Can I look inside? So, the crime scene's over there. Okay, no, they could actually see the crime scene there. Okay. What the fuck? I feel like there's some fourth wall breaks here. The Phoenix Wright Omnibus. Jobmaster's Lord Head Office. London Head Office. Omnibus, Omnibus. London 5th Avenue. Okay, so this is the 5th Avenue cart. You can see the... If I click on this, will open the door for me?
Well, let's open the door and go inside, shall we?
The scene of a murder. It's horrible. That's blood that's soaked in the seat. The victims, obviously.
Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck.
Would you really stab someone in full view of other passengers like that, I wonder?
Well, it was after dark, and there was a lamp in here, so perhaps the culprit couldn't see anything outside the skylight? Whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem like it was a planned attack. Oh, that's a poster for the great exhibition that's due to start 6 months from now. There's a lot of focus being drawn to the Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exhibition. Oh, wait, what did... We heard that last case, right? You know, that was Sholmes was saying that the Russian escapee, whatever, was planning to steal the Crystal Tower. Oh, the Crystal Tower. It's under construction already, I believe. People all over London must be fizzing with excitement at the prospect of such a grand event. Wait, go back more. Okay, so that is... window, passenger, there's a seat at the end. And that's wordage. Okay, so that still fits the crime scene. Because that looks like the right window with the correct poster in the background. What the hell is that? Oh no, is this a pull-out drawer? The seat has a handle, it seems. Only two people in there, huh? Seems like a wonderful area to, like, you know, hide someone. This looks like all sorts of equipment that might be needed to keep the omnibus running. Feeding tubs, tools to repair wheels, blankets, horseshoe tools. So it's a storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things, it seems. There doesn't seem to be any space for passengers to stow their luggage, that's for sure. Well, I don't imagine it'd be very convenient for that purpose anyway. No, some more on the equipment. Alright. Skylight. Quite a large skylight, isn't it? Yes, quite large, enough to afford a good view into the cabin from the roof deck. And there doesn't appear to be a handle or catch of any description. So I suppose it can't be opened from the inside of the cabin at least. Alright, there's the back of that one. Notice. Crystal Tower advert. Yep. Oh, same discussion. Alright. Anything else of note? No, it does not appear to have anything else of note. Let me check up here. You can certainly see inside the carriage through this opening, that's for sure. Yes, and there's a lamp in the enclosed cabin. So I'm sure the witnesses could have been able to see quite clearly. That's not good for us. Yes, but it also has a latch on it. Keep that in mind. And the... So this is the roof deck of the omnibus. Oh, you must have a wonderful view of London streets from up here. So people sit all the way up here on bitter winter nights with the cold air rushing past them. And they have to pay money to do this? I can't imagine how cold it must feel. That just made me think of something horrible. Can you imagine being dragged around the city in the freezing cold as a punishment? Perhaps that is the real price you pay to stay out late. Well, don't you guys stay out late. She got no sympathy for you. Alright. Yes, Great Britain is simply extraordinary. I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here, which I just did.
Let us continue with proceedings then. Your cross-examination, counsel.
Pray don't expect this Nippon-esque stray to understand the intricacies of a British court's cross-examination rights. You gonna stop yourself? Nope, okay. Alright. My first cross-examination in a British court. Oh, there we go. There's the slap. Focus, Ryunosuke. Focus. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had few customers. I remember it well. Yes, I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it? Oh, yes, sir, that's right. Yes, it was so cold. It was, sir, freezing, in fact. And you had 4 passengers on board at the time? Yes, that's right. Not all traveling in the same parts of the bus, of course, no. Just making sure I remember how to move.
And there were no other passengers when the incident took place? No one alighted, for example?
You're quite right with that, sir. No other passengers like that. No, none. So nobody fled the scene of the crime, then? I have to say, the boss insists that it's running. He does every evening. That last bus of the day. But I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yeah, so sorry to say. What do you mean by that? Well, what with it being so cold and everything, and only making 20 pence on a run, you see. Yes, I spend that much at the pub on the way home, just trying to warm up again.
The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Oh, no, I want... boo.
Can I not go back yet? No, it won't let me go back the first time. Alright, so I have to circle all the way around again. So what happened, the only 2 people in the enclosed cabin area were the victim and the defendant. And so help me, 3 whole people witnessed the man I'm trying to defend do the deed. I don't like to be pessimistic, but we do seem to be in a rather difficult situation here. What am I supposed to think here? Is Mr. McGilded really innocent? Or could it be... Before we jump to conclusions, our first task should be to gather information. We need to understand the case much better than we do at the moment. Yes, you're absolutely right. Let's listen to those witnesses' statements again. A little more carefully this time. I don't like that I can't just go back. Like when I choose to.
Hold it!
And you saw them through the skylight and the roof of the carriage?
That's right. When you sit up on the top deck, the window's right there at your feet. There was a lamp on inside, so I had a pretty good view. The 2 of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. But there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded.
How can you be so sure?
Well, how can I put it politely? McGilded is a gentleman of rather small stature. I couldn't have mistaken him for anyone else.
Let's not forget that when the vehicle came to a halt, the only people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. There's no room for doubt here. I really wish there was.
Then out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts.
Hold it!
You actually saw the exact moment it happened.
Didn't I already attest to that?
Or our fair dimcum, or our fair dinkum hard-working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. This is no good. I've really got his backup. Perhaps you could tell us what you saw in a little more detail, if that's...
My lord, Juror number 3, what's the meaning of this? My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up.
Made up about what?
I don't like the stinking rich. Never have. Eat all the millionaires. They're always up to something, and other than something or other that they shouldn't be. Every one of them. And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, you can't fool me. There's no point in wasting time listening to any more of this. That's my opinion on the matter, anyway. That is precisely what I was about to say. As the foreman of the jury, it's my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors. We're all kind of fucking dumb.
What is happening here? Let me see. Ah, yes. It seems that how the members of the jury give their verdict.
With fire?
Apparently, yes. White for innocent and black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, one by one, they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice, as we saw a moment ago. But if those enormous scales fall completely to the black side, does that mean... Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen.
Now I'm even more worried than I was before. Very well. The court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with their cross-examination.
This is a nightmare. That's right. He stabbed him. I screamed, I did. Couldn't help it. He stabbed him, you say, and you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you? Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fellow that was stabbed. I'd been thinking about a new hat design, you see, so I was just gazing absent-mindedly about. And then I happened to look down through the skylight. It was striking right out from his belly, that huge great knife.
A grim sight indeed.
Ah, that doesn't help me at all. The jury looks like they're even more convinced my client did it than they were before. That appears to have made everyone more dubious about that Mr. McGilded is telling the truth. If only we had some evidence to counter their suspicions. Mr. First. Oh, yes, sir. Is this the knife you saw? Oh, good grief, yes, that's it. The very one, sir. Is that? Yes, counsel. This is the blade that was driven into the victim's belly like a stake through the heart.
That is a blade of considerable size, counsel.
It is, and furthermore, the scarab is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial. The letter M, which seems oddly familiar.
Please no.
M for Magnus, perhaps, or McGilded, perhaps, possibly. Take your pick.
A blade of considerable size.
It seems this particularly big name in London made a magnificent mistake. But there are M's everywhere. Yes. Like in Mason.
Objection!
He's got a nice looking objection. This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No, this weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused.
Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, counsel.
My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption.
Jury 2, go on.
Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and gentleman, and a gentleman's word should be sacrosanct. However, those of us in service know we must accept hard truths. Wait, what are you about to do? Dispose of the rubbish.
No.
I don't wish to cause offense, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime. I have painstakingly typed every word uttered here today and cross-referenced all the facts. As such, I am now in a position to draw the only logical conclusion. Not again. That's 4 out of the 6 jury members who proposed a guilty verdict. There are only 2 left.
We've had it. Every time I press these witnesses for more information, I just make the situation worse.
Nevertheless, what we need more than anything at the moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark.
I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fly.
We mustn't give up hope that we'll uncover something that will give us a way to fight back.
But... Alright, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. I just need to keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped the bus. And then I saw it too.
Hold it!
What exactly did you see? Oh, well, that would be the passenger, sir. Yes, collapsed on the floor he was. No, he wasn't.
And by the passenger, obviously you're referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker.
And then the other passenger there had that knife in his hand, like this.
By the other passenger, obviously you're referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded.
And then he plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. What? My lord, I wish to speak. Yes, juror number 5. Do I take it you too? As the master of the London Guild of Coachmen, the idea of a murder being committed in one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But then I said, fuck it. But I've heard enough now. The horse has bolted, as they say. No, please just keep an open mind a little longer. Yup, now, Silver Blaze, the finish is in sight. Beppo is a long-standing member of the guild, and I trust what the man says. Oh, thank you, sir. You're too kind, sir. This is too unkind, sir.
Which now means that 5 jurors agreed to condemn this man. Madam Juror number 6.
Yes, dear. What can I do for you?
You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand.
Oh, yes. Certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know.
Then, pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning?
Well, dear, the thing is, I'm a creature of habit, me. I always go to the park at around this time of day, and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. McGilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donated to the city, you know, to put a smile on Londoners' faces, she said. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have had it in him to take another man's life. He's always doing great things for the city. That's right, a man like that wouldn't stab someone, surely. Mother, may we go to the McGilded Public Library? Have her deaf and miss everything?
How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know? What kind of man Magnus McGilded really is?
What kind of man he is?
The philanthropist, Magnus McGilded, has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your client is a Shylock, sir, and one of the very darkest of souls.
What? Stone the crows!
McGilded lends money to an extraordinary amount of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own, He is a vulture that preys on the weak.
I've never heard any mention of that before.
Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure, madame. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service?
You're not saying that.
The victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name, save considerable financial liability. It would come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts.
Good gracious!
The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house. He had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, this pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him, his life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Magnus McGilded.
I don't believe it.
If I might add something briefly,
Mr. Sato?
you claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded. But where's the evidence to support your claim? I'm about to get crunk. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hollowed chalice in a court of law.
Ah, there it is. Lord Von Ziek's hallowed chalice. The fuck? How can this be considered acceptable?
But I find myself in unexpectedly good humor. I had heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself. As judicial assistant to defense, I am simply doing my job. What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded here inside. Oh. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time.
A marvelous toast, Counsel. I will gladly accept this new evidence. Ah, yes. 20 guineas. The victim owed a considerable sum.
The accused made quite certain he had ample recompense.
Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes.
Regrettably, madame, this is the modus operandi of the accused.
And it's such a pretty little park, too. What a scoundrel. Still. Maybe it's all for the best. Wait a minute. Let's talk about this a little more before. I don't stand for nonsense.
That was it. The last juror's decision. According to the Encyclopedia of British Law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here.
The final verdict.
It's over then? Oh. There's a footnote, though.
A footnote?
However, the defense...
All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case.
Allow me to convey my respect to your swift and righteous decision.
According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there are no objections.
Mr. Sato, tell me one more thing. Oh, yes?
You're in the middle of saying something before. The footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense... What did it say next?
Oh, yes, of course. One moment.
When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. Rup. A summation examination?
Objection!
A summation examination. From which century has that tome you have there been resurrected? Ah! Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't even give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It's a relic, long forgotten and certainly no longer practiced.
You didn't say it wasn't something that exists, though. You're kind of glossing over that shit, boy.
So you're out of luck.
Oh. What even is it, Mr. Sato? This so-called summation examination?
Oh, one moment and I'll read about it.
Oh, why am I doing his voice now?
You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails. Typical Nipponese. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure, we'd be able to appeal to the members of the jury.
To do what, exactly?
Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse their decision. And it's sincere that, if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed.
Make them reverse their decisions. Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. But that procedure became something of a formality with no practical benefit, really. So it rather fell out of use.
I wonder why. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try it in this day and age. Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked.
Considering they make decisions before any evidence is presented is a sound tactic. Yeah, right?
What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that, although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct.
You follow your own laws, yep.
What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
A summation examination. Our last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry it out or admit defeat? Yeah, we assert our right. Yeah. The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very high standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried.
Objection!
But if it's our right, it's our right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial. The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination.
This is madness.
Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? I'm not, there was no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so... All members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they've reached their decision. On what grounds? You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty. Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot. I'm so sorry to inconvenience you. Sorry, we'll just move along to stabbing this man. Oops.
This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before. I don't really hold all this justifying lark. That seems to have thrown the jurors off. It seems none of them have experienced this before. Alright then, the Summation Examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, just maybe. It might be the opportunity we've been looking for to turn this trial around.
So be it then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant, Magnus McGilded, guilty of this most serious crime.